Ladies and gentlemen, I'll now call to order the City County Council meeting for Monday, August the 12th, 2019. And we'll begin our meeting with prayer and pledge of allegiance, led by Councilor Scales.
Thank you, President Osley. If you'll bow your heads with me, please. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 11 provides these words from God. Through the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted, but by the mouth of the wicked, it is destroyed. Lord, my prayer this evening is that you will direct and empower members of this council and city administration to be a blessing to the residents of the city of Indianapolis. I ask for discernment in decisions made so that they're marked by justice and fair dealing. Help us to be people of high integrity and grant us wisdom regarding the allocation of our resources as we consider the city's budget. Let our words and actions glorify you and bless our citizens so that our neighborhoods will thrive and make this city a healthy and safe place to live. Amen. And if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Let all councilors please select your green button to indicate your attendance. This evening we have 23 members present. Councilor Jackson has asked to be excused, and Councilor Coulter may be late for the meeting this evening. The next item on our agenda is introduction of guests and visitors. Councilor Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to introduce and welcome my fellow AFSCME brothers and sisters who are here in green today. If you could please stand up and be recognized.
Councilor Cordy. All right, seeing no one else. The next item on our agenda is official communications. And we are honored this evening to have with us the Mayor of the City of Indianapolis, the Honorable Joseph H. Hogsett, to make his presentation of the city's proposed 2020 budget. Mayor Hogsett.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you and good evening. President Osley, Vice President Adamson, leaders Lewis and McQuillan, and to all my colleagues on the City County Council, I want to thank you for this opportunity to come before you this evening to speak to the 2020 City County budget. Tonight marks my fourth budget address. But as many of you will recall, this is actually the fifth occasion I've spoken formally to this council. That first chance came 1,319 days ago. It was January 1st, 2016. And thanks to the leadership in both the Democratic and the Republican caucuses, we put aside years of partisan precedent to come together and swear our oaths of office together. That cold morning, in just 56 words, we pledged ourselves not to any political party, but to the people of our city, Indianapolis. In 56 words, we promised, to the best of our abilities, to call upon what President Lincoln called the better angels of our nature. And we made a vow of impartiality and a commitment to make better the lives of all, not make richer the lives of a few. We did so even as we acknowledged the challenges ahead of us. Understaffed public safety agencies, road infrastructure crumbling after decades of underfunding, a budget deficit threatening to destroy our city's credit rating, and the heartbreaking reality that too many of our neighbors are trapped in a cycle of poverty that leaves even the most basic of needs unfulfilled. So tonight I am thankful that from the very moment we stepped off that stage together, 1,319 days ago, we have indeed worked together to fulfill our pledge to the people of Indianapolis. By the end of 2016, we had slashed the budget deficit in half. The next year, we submitted to the taxpayers their first balanced budget since 2010. And last year, we doubled down. Not only did this body provide bipartisan, unanimous passage of a second balanced budget, it also committed to a 4-year, $400 million infrastructure plan funded without one penny in new local taxes. And so it is with great pride and gratitude that tonight I present for your consideration a budget that builds off your hard work over these last 3 years and advances our strategy of fiscally responsible investments in our neighborhoods and in public safety. And so importantly, I am proud that this represents our third consecutive balanced budget. Now, for IMPD and for IFD, this budget follows through on our collective commitment to move those agencies forward by funding recruit classes in 2020 that will help sustain the progress we've made in fully staffing these critical public safety agencies. This budget also gives our police and fire departments the resources they need to recruit the next generation of police officers and firefighters by funding increases in starting pay for new recruits to historically high levels. This investment in personnel affirms our dedication to funding IMPD's full implementation of community-based beat policing. With elevated staffing levels, Indianapolis will go from the 33 zones that we inherited 4 years ago to more than 100 individual beats across the city, each with dedicated officers by the end of 2019. But a fully staffed police force is just one part of a comprehensive response. We must also ensure we are fully equipping officers as they return to beat policing. That's why I'm proud to announce that within this submitted budget, the City of Indianapolis will, for the first time, be appropriating dollars for the deployment of body cameras within IMPD. As Chief Brian Roach and his command staff conclude the department's body cam pilot program in the coming months, this budget's investment will allow IMPD to implement the recommendations of that pilot effort beginning next summer. Turning to our fire department, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that due to the leadership of IFD Chief Ernest Malone, the 2020 proposed budget also designates funding for the health and wellness of our firefighters. This includes a new fire training academy for our fire department, as well as funding for specialized equipment that reduces exposure to cancer-causing matter. In this way, Indianapolis and you will be taking care of the men and the women who take care of us. But we all recognize that working for the safety of our neighborhoods means supporting those groups at the grassroots level who work every day to turn back the violence. That's why this budget includes a fourth consecutive increase in the city's crime prevention grant program. Now, when combined with the expansion of our city's violence reduction grant program, our Peacemakers program, and the Witness Protection program, this council will have more than doubled the amount invested in community-based anti-crime efforts over the last 4 years. However, combating violence also requires us to look at the root causes of hardship for our neighborhoods. That's why, working with President Osili and many of you, we have spent the last few months crafting a strategy to directly address one of the most pressing challenges to our city's overall quality of life, that of food insecurity and access to healthy food options. This crisis has no single cause, and its cure will require more than one solution. Though we will continue to support traditional brick and mortar grocery stores, it is clear that promoting greater food access in the 21st century requires solutions from the 21st century. And that's why tonight, in partnership with the council, we submit funding for an annual community investment strategy specifically designed to support grassroots efforts to fight food scarcity. Included in this initial $500,000 investment is an aggressive public engagement effort to partner with Indiana University Sustainable Food Science Institute, bringing experts in food security out into our neighborhoods. In this way, the best of local and institutional knowledge can attack the problem together. With the resulting information in hand, this funding will allow for the launch of a new community grant program in 2020 to help fund groups working to make food deserts a thing of the past in Indianapolis. It is my hope this is only the first of decades of such funding. The budget we submit tonight is also aimed squarely at another major challenge facing Indianapolis neighborhoods: our infrastructure. Thanks to the bipartisan support shown by this council, last year we launched a plan to invest $400 million in transportation infrastructure over a 4-year period. As a result, tonight's proposed budget will produce impressive levels of work across the city in 2020. More than $118 million for roads, bridges, sidewalks, greenways, over $30 million in stormwater projects, a $1 million increase in parks capital funding to address long overdue capital needs. But as we have learned over the last decade, merely spending large sums of money on our infrastructure is a fool's errand if we are not willing to make similar investments in maintenance and repairs. And that is why last year, with your support, we reestablished our city's street maintenance division for the first time in decades, hiring six teams of street maintenance workers. And as of last week, the city once again has a county-wide street sweeping program, keeping our streets cleaner than ever. Tonight, with this budget, we have doubled down on this strategy, continuing to invest in the Department of Public Works. This budget represents the beginning of a multi-year effort to staff and equip DPW at levels we have not seen in a generation. For next year, this means funding for added shifts. Gone will be the days of a single-day shift for our hardworking men and women in DPW. With this budget, it will be the norm to see DPW out working from sun up to sundown without requiring overtime expenses. Better yet, these staffing changes will allow DPW to begin implementation of neighborhood zones. Sounds familiar. This will allow DPW workers to focus on smaller portions of the city, where they will be able to work proactively on the continued upkeep of our infrastructure. These changes, coupled with the construction projects occurring all across our community, mean Indianapolis residents will continue to see progress on our streets. And with this progress, it is my hope that our regional partners and the Indiana General Assembly will join in good faith discussions about how we can achieve equitable infrastructure funding that will secure the future of central Indiana's roadways for decades to come. But that's not all. This budget includes more and better staffing for animal care services, as well as our Department of Business and Neighborhood Services. This budget includes the addition of planning staff in the Department of Metropolitan Development. This budget includes funding for a new compliance officer to assist in our efforts to claw back public incentives from those who are not meeting their obligations to the city. This budget includes continued funding of Indy Achieves, which over the last few weeks has issued its first round of scholarship offers to hundreds of Marion County students. And just as important, this budget includes a 10% boost in the city's funding for public art, the first increase in city arts funding in more than a decade. And perhaps most notable, for those watching at home this evening, this budget also includes funding to begin to upgrade our city's public access Channel 16 to high definition. Councilors, these investments would be notable on their own, but they are even more remarkable given that we are able to do these things while maintaining a steady course of fiscal responsibility in a bipartisan manner. Since we balanced the budget in 2017, our city has received 3 successive credit rating increases. We have seen negative outlooks go to stable, stable outlooks go to positive. And to quote one recent ratings agency report, under your leadership, Indianapolis is enjoying a track record of structurally balanced operations. With this budget, we continue the work we set out to do on that cold January morning in 2016. Serving our city, not our political parties. Doing what is best for our neighborhoods, not what is most politically expedient. Rising above the rancor that has paralyzed too many layers of government in our country, and instead dedicating ourselves to discussion, conversation, and sincere debate. With this budget, we renew that commitment. We renew the commitment to a better government, to a better Indianapolis, and to one city. Thank you very much.
Fellow councilors, I will ask for a 3-minute recess to allow the mayor to leave the chambers. Thank you, councilors. The next item on our agenda is official communications. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, you are hereby notified that regular meetings of the City County Council, Police, Fire, and Solid Waste Collection Special Service District Councils will be held in the City County Building in the council chambers on Monday, August 12, 2019, at 7 o'clock p.m. The purposes of such meetings being to conduct any and all business that may properly come before the regular meetings of the councils. Sincerely, Bob Osley, President, City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the laws of the state of Indiana, are caused to be published in the Court and Commercial Record and in the Indianapolis Star on Wednesday, July 24th, 2019, a copy of Notice of Public Hearing on Proposal Number 295, 2019, said hearing to be held on Monday, August 12th, 2019, at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Public Assembly Room of the City County Building, a copy of a continuance notice for public hearing on Middle Mile Infrastructure LLC's application for a public right-of-way franchise, said hearing to be held on Thursday, August 1st, 2019, at 5:30 p.m. in Room 260 of the City County Building, and a legal notice of General Ordinance Numbers 46 and 48, 2019. Respectfully, Sarita Hughes, Clerk of the City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I have approved with my signature and delivered this day to the Clerk of the City County Council, Sarita Hughes, the following ordinances: Fiscal Ordinance Numbers 11 through 14, General Ordinance Numbers 46 and 48, Special Ordinance Number 8, General Resolutions Numbers 23 through 25, Special Resolution 27. Joseph H. Hogsett, Mayor. Mr. President, this concludes the official communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is adoption of the agenda. Do I have consent? Consent. And the next item on our agenda is approval of journals for July the 15th, 2019. Do I have consent? And we will now proceed to presentation of petitions, memorials, special resolutions, and council resolutions. Proposal number 269 honors Gary Johnson for 40 years of dedicated service in ministry.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome down here Pastor Gary Johnson and his wife. They're here celebrating a special resolution honoring Gary Johnson for 40 years of dedicated service and ministry. Whereas, a native of Michigan, Gary Johnson was raised with great faith. His collegiate background includes a Bachelor of Arts degree in business from Olivet College, a Master of Arts in Church History from Lincoln Christian Seminary, a Master of Ministry, and a Master of Divinity degrees from Cincinnati Bible College, as well as a Doctor of Ministry degree from the Grace Theological Seminary. And whereas, since 1990, Dr. Johnson has served as the lead servant, senior minister of Indian Creek Christian Church, known affectionately to many of the Franklin Township people as the Creek, in Indianapolis, Indiana, where he has helped lead the church through periods of significant growth from 250 individuals to more than 4,500 in a weekly worship to date. And whereas under his leadership, the Creek has partnered with many local organizations such as the Bethany Christian Services, Life Bridge Community, Indianapolis Public Schools IPS 15, Thomas Gregg Neighborhood School, and Shepherd Community Center to provide countless volunteer hours in service to the greater Indianapolis community. And whereas, in addition to preaching at the Creek, Dr. Johnson has completed more than 100 missionary trips to encourage and equip leaders, church leaders in cross-cultural settings. He has taught as an adjunct professor for the Cincinnati Christian University, Maritime Christian College, and TCM International Institute, and is invited to speak at conferences, events, and seminars concerning elder issues. Whereas, after 40 years in the ministry and 30 years serving the Creek congregation, Dr. Johnson stepped down as lead servant on April 28th and will continue his ministry as executive director at E2 Effective Elders, a ministry designed to provide teaching and training for elders in local churches. And whereas, Dr. Johnson will continue to devote his life to Jesus Christ and new and equally awarding capacity while spending time with his wife of 40 years, Leah, their 2 sons, Jared and Aaron, and their 6 grandchildren. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana, Section 1, the Indianapolis City County Council, proudly honoring Gary Johnson for 40 years of dedicated service and ministry. Section 2, the Council heartily thanks Dr. Johnson for his servant leadership throughout the community of Indianapolis and wishes him a blessed transition. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature hereto, which he has. Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. And whereas, this special resolution was sponsored by Councilor Mowry and was passed by the City County Council this 12th day of August 2019. So,
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All right, motion carries. Back to the speaker.
thank you. I appreciate the support from everybody here this evening. As we all just learned, he's been in this a very long time. He's over 100 mission trips. He's been a blessing not only to the community of Franklin Township, but also the world. It's been an honor to be able to know him and be able to be in attendance for his services. And I would like to give Pastor Johnson the opportunity to come up and say a few words.
Just a quick thank you for the recognition, and we are very grateful to have lived now in Indianapolis for decades and call Franklin Township our home, and I want to thank all of you for serving our community as well, because you are doing just that. So I thank you.
So I have a few extra copies here, and these are the pins we. Thank you. Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is proposal number 279, which recognizes Braden Gogis for his many accomplishments in the area of app development at the young age of 15.
All right. City of Indianapolis, Special Resolution Number 29, 2019. A special resolution recognizing Braden Gogis for his many accomplishments in the area of app development at the young age of 15. Whereas Braden Gogis has always liked to create games. When he was 11, he decided to make a real game that could be played on a phone. He started a Kickstarter campaign to raise enough money to buy a used Mac computer and used it to create his first mobile game, Dotworks. His love of code grew from there, and he has taught himself more and more powerful coding languages. Whereas Franklin Central High School freshman Braden Gogis, a 15-year-old app creator, was one of 10, 13, 15-year-old youngest age allowed to attend a conference to receive a scholarship to be awarded worth close to $2,000 to attend Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, WWDC, which includes a free trip to San Jose, California, and a complimentary one-year membership in the Apple Developer Program. And whereas WWDC is an annual event slated to showcase its newest software technologies for developers, Braden was given 10 days to write code and submit a paragraph about himself, which was judged by Apple engineers. An invitation was sent out informing Braden that his project was accepted as one of the 350 winners. He was called in for an interview to set up the possible media engagements while he was in California. And whereas Braden started his own company, Chain Reaction Games, at just 14 years old. His latest game creation, the company game, has been featured on Apple by Game of the Day and Game of the Week, and has reached number one on the paid puzzle charts in iTunes. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City County Council of City of Indianapolis and Marion County, Indiana, Section 1, the Indianapolis City County Council recognizes Braden Gogis and his achievements in the area of app development. Section 2, the City County Council wishes Braden Gogis continued success in all his future endeavors. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature hereto. Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. This special resolution was sponsored by Councilor Mowry and was passed by the City County Council on this 12th day of August, 2019. I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Back to the speaker.
Thank you. Let me just start off by saying, wow. I think I'd say many of us in here have a small feeling of achievement when we turn on a computer. He's writing the code that does that. He's 15 years old, folks. This kid's got such a bright future that it's inspiring to see how dedicated and intelligent he is, and to be able to do this. He was one of very few people to be awarded this scholarship from Apple. That says enough in itself right there. I'd like to welcome down Braden and say maybe a few words here, and maybe we can learn a thing or two.
I just want to thank all of you for this great honor. It is a huge deal for me to get to be here and accept this honor. It's as big of an achievement as every other one that was just listed. It's very exciting to be here. It was a great experience to get to represent this great community out in California. Thank you all for all that you do.
Would either one of the parents like to come up and say anything? Chase?
No, that's all right. This shouldn't be about the school. I'll just tell you as an educator, there's nothing better than seeing a kid come in your office
Come on down.
and be that passionate about coding and what he does. And I think he probably short-sold himself just a little bit on what he did and the amount of time it took to code each individual level on the company game. So if you ever have a chance to jump in the App Store and pull it up, each individual level took a long time to code and figure out and do all those types of things, and this is a lot of it self-taught. So he's absolutely incredible, and Franklin Central High School is just glad to be a part of a great community with great families and great leadership. So thanks to Councilor Mowry and everybody here for the opportunity and shining the light on all the great that is in our city. So, thank you.
Thank you, councilors. The next item on agenda is Proposal 281, but we've asked, would like by consent to postpone Proposal 281. Very good. The next item on our agenda is Proposal number 325, which recognizes the life of Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr.
Come around down, guys, and join us. Thank you, Mr. President. A special resolution honoring the life of Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr. Whereas Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr. was born in Great Falls, Montana, to James Allen and Lori Lowry, moving to Indianapolis when he was 1 year old. He was a 1997 graduate of Decatur Central High School and enlisted in the United States Air Force in 1999. Mr. Allen married his wife, Stacy, and they were blessed with 2 sons, TJ and Aaron Jr. And whereas Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr. had a passion to become a police officer since the age of 5. In 2001, he was accepted as a civilian police officer volunteer, or CVP, with the Indianapolis Police Department. In 2004, he served with the Marion County Sheriff's Department and was a 2009 resource officer with the Indiana School for the Deaf. In 2011, he worked as a resource officer for Franklin Township Schools and then became a reserve officer with the Southport Police Department, where he served for 6 years, becoming the first full-time paid officer with Southport in January 2017. And
whereas Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr. graduated from the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, formerly known as ILEA, in the 191st class of 2011 and holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Phoenix, class of 2015. He was the recipient of the 2015 Southport Officer of the Year Award and received the Life Saving Award in February of 2017, along with the several other recognition and citations. Whereas Lieutenant Allen, Jr., known as the Teddy Bear, often going out of his way to help residents in need, has an infectious laugh, a love of spending time with his family and friends. He has had a passion for the hunting, fishing, and camping.
And whereas Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr. was killed in the line of duty on Thursday, July 27, 2017, while trying to render aid to a car crash victim. His wife, Stacy, was quoted as saying, "There is no room in my heart for anger. I choose peace. I choose to live in the light of the Lord, even in my darkest moments. I cling to hope. We cling to hope, knowing that the good in this world far outweighs any evil. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana."
Section 1, the Indianapolis City County Council recognizes the life of Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr. Section 2, the City County Council further recognizes the hard work, dedication, and achievements of Lieutenant Aaron Allen, Jr. In Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature here too. And Mr. President, I so move.
Second.
Motion has been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Back to the speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's not lost on me or any of us, I'm sure, that we're making this special resolution tonight, a night where we begin the process to make sure that we adequately fund the needs of the men and women in blue. They dedicate their lives to keeping you and me safe, and hopefully they get to go home to their family at night. Sadly, that's not always the case. So tonight we honor and salute one such public servant and one that did not get to go home. Lieutenant Aaron Allen is the embodiment of what makes a true American hero, and we will be eternally grateful. So, Mr. President, with those thoughts and with your permission, I would like to introduce Southport Police Chief, sorry for the demotion, Police Chief Tom Vaughn to say a few words. Chief Vaughn, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for having us. It's an honor to be here. We just celebrated the 2-year anniversary last week, and it's heartwarming for us to have the support of the community, not only in Southport but in Marion County. To this day, we still have people who come in every week, every other week, just to say hi, bring in cookies and that kind of stuff. So I know it means a lot to our department. I know it means a lot to Stacy and the family. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And you can see the outpouring of support from the rest of the public safety community here joining us tonight. We won't take the time to have everyone say a few words, but if they did, I'm sure they would basically be saying what you've just heard tonight. So thank you all. Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Mr. President. Tom, you can go ahead and distribute those to whomever you want to.
Councilors, the next item on our agenda is the overview presentation of the proposed 2020 City-County Annual Budget by Fadi Kudura, City Controller. Mr. Kudura.
Good evening, Mr. President, councilors, Vice President Adamson, Leader Lewis, Leader McQuillan. I'm grateful to be given the opportunity to present a very high-level highlight of the 2020 budget. And I'll be taking any questions during the budget process, not tonight. We'll be more than happy to engage in one-on-one meetings with councilors to explain things. For tonight, my role is to share with you the high-level objectives of the 2020 budget. 4 years ago, we presented to you the strategy behind the scenes to balance the budget and put the city back on a fiscally prudent path. That first slide in your presentation, which I assume you have access to it or you're looking at it, basically is the critical component of my presentation that can explain and frame everything that I will share with you tonight. That multi-year strategy focused on balancing the budget, building budgets with no tax increases, preserving and protecting fund balances, ensuring that we upgrade the city's credit ratings, paying down debt, smart sizing and underspending our budgets, and then most importantly, investing in public safety infrastructure and in our neighborhoods and economic development to attract jobs and businesses to the city of Indianapolis and Marion County. On your next slide, we introduce a budget of $1,212,441,180 of revenues with corresponding appropriations of $1.212 billion and a surplus of $171,000. This is our fourth budget that does not include any tax increases built in it. The next slide basically represents the $1.2 billion of appropriations and revenues. On my left side is the appropriation. The pie chart represents the $1.2 billion. As you may notice, public safety and criminal justice agencies will consume 60% of the overall budget, followed by 25% mainly for public work and neighborhood-related agencies. On the right side of your chart are the revenues. 64% of our revenues come from general funds, or what we call general taxes, mainly property taxes and income taxes. 24% is what we call intergovernmental funds, which includes federal and state dollars and other types of miscellaneous revenues. Next slide. These are the major highlights of the 2020 budget. I will skim through the highlights, and I'll be more than happy in the near future as we go through the budget process to explain any and every single one of these initiatives and with the help and collaboration of agencies. On the public safety side, this budget includes $8.8 million to fulfill the contractual commitments with the bargaining units contracted with IMPD and IFD. It maintains funding for 1,743 police officers and 1,220 firefighters. It raises the salary for first-year sworn police officer to $51,000 to help with the recruitment strategies. It includes $500,000 funding for food security initiatives, or the opposite, dealing with food insecurity. It maintains the $300,000 homelessness prevention initiative that we've included, that we've built in the 2019 budget through a special initiative that was approved by the council over the last few months. $250,000 increase in our crime prevention grants, which takes it from $2.75 million to $3 million. It includes $286,000 for cancer prevention initiatives under IFD, $1.2 million for body cameras for IMPD, and most importantly, the last two bullet points under public safety. This budget includes the annual debt service payment for the construction of the IFD training facility and the assessment and intervention centers, which both will be co-located at the criminal or the community justice site close to the Twin Air neighborhood. On the criminal justice side, or criminal justice agencies, and just to clarify, when we mention public safety on the city side, we mainly mean or talk about IFD and IMPD. On the county side, criminal justice agencies are composed of the courts, the prosecutor, public defender, sheriff's office, community correction, forensics, and other smaller, and the coroner's office and other smaller agencies. Criminal justice initiatives include funding for the sheriff's office deputies, increases for their bargaining unit of the Fraternal Order of Police. They have their own local unit, and that's at $2.1 million. $400,000 increases for additional caseworkers under community corrections to keep individuals out of the criminal justice system. $977,000 for the public defender to increase his staffing and enhance quality of representation to his clients. $1.3 million increases to the 4 community mental health centers that historically we funded at approximately $4 million. This takes that funding to approximately $5.3 million. And then we increased the salaries for PDA, or the Public Defender Agency, and the prosecutor to a beginning salary for a first-year entry lawyer to a level of $52,000. On the infrastructure side, this budget funds all contractual commitments with the several AFSCME units with neighborhood-based agencies, including BNS and DPW and Animal Care Services and other agencies, to the tune of $850,000. Included in the budget is $118 million for infrastructure work alongside the budget, but also included in the $118 million is the $40 million bond appropriation resolution that was submitted to the council. As a reminder, the council approved or authorized the bond issuance of $120 million over a period of 3 years. In 2018, we issued the first tranche of $30 million. This year, we plan to issue the second tranche of $40 million to be spent in 2020, and there remains $50 million to be issued in 2020 to be spent in 2021. This budget also includes $31.5 million for stormwater initiatives and projects across the city. And as the mayor explained, we will be expanding the operational capacity of DPW by adding a second shift that enhances or invests in adding staff. It's a multi-year strategy that will allow DPW over a course of few years to move into a zone-based model by which we can serve our neighbors by increasing staffing and dedicating them to specific smaller geographical areas to enhance services. This budget also increased a $100,000 increase or a 10% increase for the Arts Council, taking it from $1 million to $1.1. And several FTEs or full-time employees across the organization to help us improve services and expand the scope of services that we offer to our employees and our citizens across the county. Capital and equipment, the Parks Department will have $1 million increase in capital budgets to address deferred maintenance and critical projects across the city, $1.6 million for refuse trucks, $100,000 for digital broadcast conversion. And alongside with this budget, there's also a proposal that was submitted to the council requesting the appropriation of $90,000 to start the design project for the Juvenile Detention Center, which will also be co-located at the criminal justice site. Finally, special initiatives. We will maintain funding for Develop Indy. As a reminder, Develop Indy is the development arm of the Indy Chamber that is funded by the city's budget, and its role is to help us attract jobs and businesses to the city of Indianapolis. This budget also funds the 2020 presidential elections, including the expansion to early voting sites. I want to bring to your attention that there's a phenomena that happens once every 10 years, which we call it the 27th paycheck for public safety or the 53rd pay for weekly employees. Last time that phenomenon happened was in 2015 for civilian employees. This time it's addressing public safety and weekly employees, and that total amount that is needed has been built in the budget. So mainly the agencies that will be impacted by this will be IMPD and IFD and neighborhood-related business agencies such as BNS, Department of Public Works, Animal Care Services, and other agencies. This budget also includes the $2 million, maintains the funding for the Indy Achieves, and maintains the funding for the Mediation Center. It's worth highlighting that this budget also doubles the commitment that the council made towards the Indy library system. The council has an agreement with the library system to give 0.1 of a percentage point out of income tax. As a reminder, the library system is funded by property taxes. This is specific to income tax. And we are doubling that amount from, roughly speaking, $220,000 to $467,000. On the next slide is a quick preview of local revenues that are paid in Marion County. I'll ask you to look at or focus or bring your attention to the 2020 budget year, which is the last bar to your right. The blue section of the bar represents property taxes at $371 million. The green section of the bar represents income tax at $354 million, and other miscellaneous taxes on top of that are listed or included at the top, for a total of $777 million of taxes that are local taxes that are paid in Marion County. The next slide, the pie chart, represents projected revenues. It dissects it in different ways. 31% of the $1.2 billion budget comes from property taxes, $354 million comes from income tax, and the rest of it is included in intergovernmental, $294 million. That includes federal grants, state grants, gas taxes, and other miscellaneous revenues. The next slide dissects the appropriation or the expenses. Public safety will receive $457 million of the overall budget, which is about 38%. Criminal justice will receive $271 million, which represents $271 million. And then public services and neighborhood-based services will receive $309 million. Earlier, I mentioned that if you look at the overall budget and you combine the spending on public safety and criminal justice, we're looking roughly at 60% of the overall budget spent on these agencies. The next slide represents appropriations divided, the $1.2 billion budget divided by city agencies versus county agencies. So on the city side, $812 million out of the $1.2 billion will be spent on city agencies, largely driven by a higher level of investment in IMPD at 33% of the city's side of the budget, 24% to IFD, and 23% to Public Works, and then the remaining is for the rest of the organization, for the rest of the city agencies and the legislative and the executive branch, including the mayor's office. On the county side, the next slide, it represents $341 million out of the $1.2 billion, largely driven by higher investments in the sheriff's office, the superior courts, 35% and 18% respectively, followed by ISA at 9%, and then the remaining agencies, or the prosecutor at 10%, followed by ISA at 9%. The following slide basically summarizes changes in credit ratings of the city of Indianapolis. You have two columns, the one in the middle versus the one to the right. In early 2015, Moody's credit rating agency published a report downgrading the city's economic outlook to negative. We made it our mission and our strategy to bring the city's fiscal affairs back in order and to protect the city's credits. Evident by the upgrades that we have received over the last 12 months, we can see that Standards & Poor upgraded the city from AA to AA plus stable outlook. Moody's from AAA negative to AAA plus stable outlook. Kroll from AA plus maintained as AA plus, however, changed the outlook from stable to positive, and Fitch maintained the AAA rating for the city. Not to belabor this or to read the quotes that are directly extracted from the agency's, credit rating agency's reports, but I've included, and the team included, 6 bullet points, direct quotes from agencies' reports highlighting the city's fiscally responsible track, the balanced budgets, balanced operations. And I want to comment, which I think is in a couple of slides, I'll comment on this, but I want to thank the council because you helped us approve fund balance policies, you've helped us approve balanced budgets, you've helped us take a charge and lead on smart sizing and underspending that led to the city's credit upgradings. So I thank the council for your work with us and for your leadership and support. The next slide, revenues versus expenses. We wanted to highlight, if you recall, I mentioned earlier in my presentation that the first slide summarizes the city's multi-year strategy. On this slide, you can look at specifically on the left side of the presentation or of the slide. The blue bars represent from 2016 through 2018 the expenses that the council approved for the administration or appropriated for the administration to utilize. The gray bar next to each of these blue bars represents the actual spending of the city, which means for 3 consecutive years, and the reason we're not including 2019 is because we didn't formally close 2019, but for 3 consecutive years, we underspent our budgets from 16 through 2018 to the tune of $70 million as a result of underspending, smart sizing, and aligning agencies' functions and business processes. On the right side of the same slide, we budgeted revenues at a conservative level, and we also collected additional revenues and growth, or through growth, over the last 3 years. I bring to your attention one significant spike in revenues. In 2016, the red bar represents what we actually collected versus the blue bar, which was the amount of revenues that the council approved in every budget. In 2016, we received a one-time $52 million supplemental COIT distribution. So even if you take the $52 million out of the $63 million, that red bar, we still grew by almost $9 million that year, going to 29 the following year, going to 13 million. The combination of both strategies, conservative budgeting and underspending, is or largely led to balancing our budgets over the last 3 years. The next slide represents fund balances. This is where I mentioned a minute ago my deep appreciation and gratitude for the council's leadership. When we reviewed the 2015 Moody's report, one of the things that they've mentioned that led to the downgrade of the city's credit ratings was the idea that we were depleting our fund balances as a city. So when we took office in 2016, reviewing what happened prior to 2016, we came to the council, and with your leadership, you passed a proposal to set thresholds for certain fund balances that we can never and we should never go below. While this slide might seem congested with too many numbers and percentages, one way to look at it, on the top or in the upper half of the slide, there's the type of fund that we call unassigned fund balance. Each year, looking at 16 through 2020, the gray bar represents the policy threshold that the council approved in 2016. And you can see that since 2016 through 2019, up till today, we did exceed the council threshold for these balances. If you look at the bottom part of the slide, the unrestricted fund balances, the gray bar from 2016 through 2020, represents again the 17% threshold that the council set. And since then, we've exceeded the 17% every single year. And we are estimating that in 2019, we will exceed that threshold. Next slide. You might get tired of me reminding you of the first slide, which is the multi-year strategy. But the multi-year strategy calls for protecting the fiscal stability fund, which is basically the savings account for the city of Indianapolis that we shouldn't be touching unless there was a very severe crisis beyond the city's control. When we took office, that fund was below the $80 million threshold that the council set, and we made it a point to raise it back to $80 million to show credit rating agencies that the city can maintain its operations in case of a crisis that goes above and beyond the city's control. I'm happy to report that by the end of 2020, we expect that fund to go to $82.34 million. Next slide represents our strategy to pay down debt. The blue bar represents general obligation debt. You notice that it goes down from January 1st of 2016 through projected 2020. We paid down debt from $129 million to $101 million, a decrease of $28 million in general obligation debt. The red bar represents our tax increment financing debt, or what we call also moral obligation debt. It is reduced from $630 million to $521 million, which reflects a net reduction of $109 million. You notice that the green bar goes up a little bit. That green bar from 319 to 444 million is what we call our revenue bonds. So that includes the $120 million that the council approved for infrastructure, and is largely also driven by a $50 million bond issuance for stormwater. So going from 319 to 444 at a time when we are issuing $170 million worth of debt for infrastructure and stormwater, with all of these changes of paying down debt and issuing bonds for infrastructure, since we took office, the net decrease of the amount that we paid down in debt equals $12 million. So the city, by the end of 2020, will have $12 million less in debt than the day we inherited the debt on January 1st of 2016. One final thought, that the 2020 green bar, which includes $444 million, includes the $50 million that we still did not issue. So it factors debt that we did not issue, but we plan on issuing next year. My final slide relates to infrastructure and stormwater initiatives. As mentioned earlier, the 2020 plan calls for a total investment of $118 million on the infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, bridges, and then on the stormwater side, $31.5 million worth of investments for an estimated combined amount of $150 million in 2020 to be spent countywide or city countywide on infrastructure and stormwater projects. With that, I conclude my presentation. I'm very grateful for the leadership of the council, for the leadership of Mayor Hogsett. I can't leave this podium without thanking my team who worked days and nights, many sleepless nights getting this presentation or this budget built, working with 40 agencies over the last 2 months. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you. I think we can all collectively look back and see that we were part of something meaningful of bringing the city's fiscals back on track. Thank you, and I appreciate your leadership.
Thank you, Controller. Fellow councilors, the next item on our agenda is proposal number 282, referred to Rules and Public Policy Committee. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 282 appoints Mark Carter II to the Equal Opportunity Advisory Board. Councilor Robinson moves, seconded by Councilor Lewis, to send proposal number 282 to the full council with a due passes amended recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 7-0. I so move.
Second.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for a vote. Motion carries 23 to 0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 283, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairwoman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. With consent, I would like to take 283, 284, 285, 306, 307, 308, and 309. Proposal number 283 appoints Karen Horseman to the Animal Care Advisory Board. Proposal number 284 nominates David Bride for appointment to the Economic Development Commission. Proposal number 285 nominates Charles Garcia for appointment to the Economic Development Commission. Proposal number 306 appoints Jason Larison to the Indianapolis Market Corporation Board of Directors. Proposal number 307 appoints Patricia Bernard to the Indianapolis City Market. Proposal number 308 appoints Barney Levingood to the Indianapolis City Market Board. Proposal number 309 appoints Janice Dunlap to the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals Division 3. All individuals appeared before the committee on Monday, July 22nd, 2019 to seek appointment and answer questions. The proposal all passed out of committee by a vote of 10-0. Mr. President, I so move. Second.
Motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. Motion carries 23-0. The next item on our agenda is introduction of proposals. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 311, 2019, introduced by Counselor Simpson, referred to the Administration and Finance Committee. Proposes a resolution of the City County Local Income Tax Council to request approval from the Department of Local Government Finance to lower the levy freeze tax rate and to cast the vote of the City County Council on such resolution. Proposal numbers 312 and 313 referred to the Parks and Recreation Committee and were introduced by Councilor Oliver. Proposal number 312 approves the operating agreement for Coffin, Eagle Creek, and Riverside Academy golf courses by R.N. Thompson Golf LLC. Proposal number 313 approves the operating agreement for Smock Golf Course by Capital City Golf Management LLC. Proposal number 314, introduced by Councilor Robinson, referred to the Public Safety and the Criminal Justice Committee, approves an additional appropriation of $90,000 in the 2019 budget of the Office of Public Health and Safety, Consolidated County General Fund, to be used to contract an architectural design group to design and engineer the new juvenile detention center at the Community Justice Campus site. Proposal number 315 through 319 referred to the Public Works Committee. Proposal number 315, introduced by Councilor Adamson, appropriates the proceeds of the Indy Roads revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $40 million to fund the costs of certain street, road, bridge, traffic signal, curb, and sidewalk projects and incidental expenses in connection therewith, and on account of the issuance of the bonds and the proceeds of the city's Indy Roads interim financing notes, to fund the foregoing on an interim basis if such issuance is determined to be necessary. Proposal number 316, introduced by Councilor Mascari, authorizes a speed limit reduction to 30 miles per hour along Shelby Street between Troy Avenue and Madison Avenue in District 16. Proposal number 317, introduced by Councilor Shreve, authorizes intersection controls at New Jersey Street and Sanders and Orange Streets and Parkway Avenue in District 16. Proposal number 318, introduced by Councilor McHenry, authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Liberty Oaks subdivision in District 6. Proposal number 319, introduced by Councilor McHenry, authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Gray Meadow subdivision in District 6. Proposal number 320, introduced by Councilors Osley and Adamson, referred to the Committee of the Whole, approves an application by Middle Mile Infrastructure LLC for a public right-of-way use franchise to install, construct, maintain, repair, and operate a proprietary fiber optic network and to provide shared access to the fiber optic network to the Indiana Department of Transportation. Proposal numbers 321 and 322 refer to the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee and were introduced by Councilor Robinson. Proposal number 321 approves the tax levy and rate for the Police Special Service District for the year 2020. Proposal number 322 approves the tax levy and rate for the Fire Special Service District for the year 2020. Proposal number 323, introduced by Councilor Adamson, referred to the Public Works Committee, approves the tax levy and rate for the Solid Waste Collection Special Service District for the year 2020. Proposal number 324, introduced by Councilors Osley, Adamson, and Lewis, referred to the Administration and Finance Education, Metropolitan and Economic Development, Parks and Recreation, Public Safety and Criminal Justice, and Public Works Committees. Adopts the annual budget for the City of Indianapolis and Marion County for 2020. Proposal number 332, introduced by Councilor Shreve, referred to the Public Works Committee, authorizes intersection controls at Pennsylvania and Kelly Streets in District 16. Mr. President, this concludes the introductions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is special orders, priority business. Proposal number 326 is a rezoning ordinance certified for approval by the Metropolitan Development Commission on July the 12th. If no councilor wishes to call down any of the proposals for reconsideration, the proposal will pass into law. Does anyone wish to call down proposal number 326 for reconsideration? All right, seeing none, the proposal will pass into law. Proposal numbers 327 through 331 are all rezoning ordinances certified for approval by the Metropolitan Development Commission on July the 26th. If no councilor wishes to call down any of the proposals for reconsideration, the proposals will pass into law. Does anyone wish to call down any of the proposals for reconsideration? Seeing none, the proposal will pass into law. The next item on our agenda is special orders, public hearing. Turn the gavel over to the Vice President.
Proposal number 295, 2019 is a rezoning ordinance for Center Township District 11, 2069-2235 Montcalm Street. It's certified for approval by the Metropolitan Development Commission on July 5th. This is a public hearing. Turn it over to President Osley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. My fellow councilors, when I was asked for this rezoning ordinance case to be put on our agenda for a public hearing, there were several residents who were not in support of this petition and the commitments given to the Metropolitan Development Commission. Since our last council meeting, our general counsel, Toei Kim, invited the petitioner and the registered remonstrators to a preliminary staff conference to see if they could work out their differences. That meeting was held last week. As a result of the meeting, the petitioner agreed to 13 additional commitments, such as no processing or storage of stone, gravel, or sand, additional trees and enhanced landscaping, improved aesthetics to existing buildings, providing employment opportunities to the riverside and nearby neighborhoods, and installing pedestrian and bike crossing signs. General Counsel Kim has informed me that the parties that attended the staff conference have agreed to these additional commitments. And I want to thank both sides for their fortitude to work on an agreeable solution that will eliminate a need to hear this tonight. With that, I hereby move for a vote on the rezoning proposal number 295, 2019, subject to the modified commitments without full public hearing.
Second. There is a motion and a second to forego a public hearing on this proposal. Is that correct? For that. So is there any public or comments from councilors on this motion? I'll turn it over to our parliamentarian who will give some guidelines for the public comment upcoming.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I just want to say that comments should be limited to why a full public hearing should still be held by the council. Please do not speak to the substance of the rezoning ordinance. Thank you.
With that, we will call forward anyone who wishes to have public comment on whether or not we should hold a public hearing on this proposal.
Good evening. I just wanted to say that.
Could you please state your name?
Oh, I'm Paula Brooks, and I'm with Hoosier Environmental Council. I manage the Environmental Justice Initiative for the city here, and I just wanted to say that I really appreciate everyone's contribution, Kim, the council staff, Angela, the petitioner Jay Walter, because we were able to come together and forego this public hearing with your support on both sides of the aisle. So I really appreciate this opportunity to express my gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Very good. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to whether or not a public hearing should be held?
Hello, my name's Jay Walter. I'm not looking for a public hearing. I just want to thank everybody for coming together and getting this issue resolved. Thanks so much. And Paula, thank you for getting it all finalized. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak to whether or not we should hold a public hearing? Seeing none, we'll move on to the vote. There's been a motion and a second to forego the public hearing and then to accept just to forego the public hearing. So we go to the board for the vote.
Yes, I mean, what is green? What is yellow?
So green is to forego. So if you agree with the motion to forego the hearing, and red is if you want to hold a public hearing. And it looks like we have 22 votes in favor of foregoing the hearing and 0 to hold the hearing. So the ayes have it. Very good. Okay, so now we have a vote to pass the zoning. And now we'll take a vote on the, sorry? There has been a motion? No. So that, turn it back over to President Osley to make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move that proposal 295 be adopted.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any comments from councilors on the acceptance of the commitments? Is that it? Yes. Councilor Holliday.
Thank you, Vice President Addison. Not necessarily comment on the proposal or the commitments, but I just recognize that one of the parties is a customer of mine, so I think I need to abstain from the vote.
That works for us. Very good. Okay, seeing there are no other comments, we'll go to the board for a vote to accept the compromise that was made in conference committee. Green is to accept that. And we need how many? We needed 15 to accept, and we have 21 ayes and 1 abstention. Has everyone voted? Very good. The ayes have it. 21 to 1 abstention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. There is no business under special orders unfinished business, so we'll now proceed to special orders final adoption. And the next item on our agenda is proposal number 274, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairwoman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 274 amends the Marion County Auditor's endorsement fee to comply with Indiana Code. Mr. Brown presented the proposal and stated that this is an instant where the state of Indiana changed the law and the city is making sure that they mirror the state law. The proposal passed out of committee by a vote of 10-0. Mr. President, I so move.
Second. The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for a vote. The motion carries 22-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 277, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairwoman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 277 amends the code with respect to the Consolidated Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance, Indy rezone, to replace the method of record keeping and maintenance in order to allow for easier identification for constituents and modification by the city and the technical correction of 5 individual subdivisions. A brief presentation was shared. The proposal passed out of the committee by a vote of 10-0. Mr. President, I so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The motion carries 22-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 278, referred to Rules and Public Policy Committee. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 278, 2019, approves a transfer of $788,366 to the 2019 Information Services Agency budget to cover an unanticipated increase in the infrastructure managed services contract, which is critical to the management of city and county information technology needs. Ken Clark, Chief Information Officer, Information Services Agency, presented the proposal. He stated that ISA is requesting a transfer from Character 1 budget to Character 3 as a result of difficulty in hiring based on salaries from across the field. He stated that ISA has been heavily outsourced and uses contracts for many services they provide. Councilor Lewis moved, seconded by Councilor Robinson, to send proposal number 278 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Mr. President, I so move.
Motions are properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for a vote. The motion carries 22-0. There is no business under special service district councils, and there is no business under new business. So the next item on our agenda is announcements and adjournment. The docketed agenda for this meeting of council having been completed, the chair will now entertain motions for adjournment.
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Councilor McQuillan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have been asked to offer the following motion for adjournment. By Councilor McQuillan, in memory of Dottie Palumbo and Jill Marie Gagline. By Councilor Cordy, in memory of Vera Buckland Atkin. By Councilors Holliday, Coates, Cordy, Fanning, McHenry, McQuillan, Wessler, Mowry, and Coulter, in memory of Michael R. Morgan. By Councilor Harris, in memory of Glenn J. Schmidt. By Councilor Lewis, in memory of Joe Murphy, Dr. Patrick McElvey, and Damon Lamont Barnett. By Councilor Adamson, in memory of Sandy Marley Mendez Coleman. By Councilor Holliday, in memory of James Lucas. Mr. President, I would like to move the adjournment of this meeting of the Indianapolis City County Council in recognition of and respect for the life and contributions of those persons I have here specifically named. I respectfully ask the support of fellow councilors. I further request that the motion be made a part of the permanent record of this body, and that a letter bearing the county council seal and the signature of the president be sent to the family of each person advising of this action.
Thank you, Councilor McQuillan. Hearing no objections, the motion is received and the request is so ordered. Hearing no further motions, we're adjourned.